Guys, welcome back live, and thank you for being here live. And I know we had a little technical issue when we lost the last live. I don't know what happened. Suddenly the live was gone, but we're back here. There's always a take two in life, and life always gives you another chance. So, like I said earlier, this live is all about the family secrets with our author Jayant Swamy. And we're gonna start all over again with our chat, and there'll be a repeat too because there's a lot that I want to tell him. Wes, thank you everyone for joining in and for always being there. Hello, and
Ah,
welcome back to the second live.
thank
Take
you.
two. So
Technology.
I'm gonna repeat something that I love your book, Family Secrets. I love turning the pages because I was glued and intrigued to know what's happening next. And we'll ask you all over again. So, how did you decide to write this novel? And this time, don't cut it short. Last time you said you'd cut it short, my net didn't like it. It just vanished. It said,
Ah,
no, we want a long story.
okay. You'll get the full story. We'll keep turning the pages, right?
Right.
So it's kind of rooted in family folklore. So I was kind of made privy to this patriarch who many decades back had an extramarital affair. And then the patriarch had a daughter from the first marriage who was very capable. And my only thought was when she found out she had a half sister who had actually gone on to become a doctor, whereas this lady ended up a homemaker. So I was wondering, what kind of feelings, thoughts might have gone in her head. And I just used that germ of an idea to write a totally fictional story. And Family Secrets is actually, is about two brothers. And I put this, that was the big thing I put into it. So when the legitimate son finds out, for whatever reason, the illegitimate son has gotten way more in life than him in every way, how does he feel? What does he do about it? What are his motivations? What is his frame of mind? And that really sets the ball rolling, if you see in the story. And of course, he does have a late awakening. It really all strikes him after their father is dead and gone. And he looks at his life and sees that he does not have much to show. Whereas the other guy, the half brother, is actually one of the best known business tycoons in the city. And that kind of sets off the whole story. I wouldn't call it a revenge saga, though there are some reviewers who called it. It's acceptable, but I see it more as a salvo counter salvo between two half brothers. It's really a little more about justice than revenge. So that's kind of the pact.
So, if in one sentence you have to define justice, what would that be?
Good one. I'll kind of keep it a little loosey goosey. I'm not going to give any scientific definitions. So I think in some ways it's personal and it's really about equity. So I would leave it at that. It's not equality, but you it's kind of an expectation that something equitable you get back something equitable from life for what you have given to it. That's how I would define it, which is really what motivates my protagonist.
And what is revenge for you?
Revenge. Personally, I am at a point in my life where I don't believe in revenge. I think it's a totally wasteful emotion. And I'm only reminded of what Sheldon Cooper of Big Bang Theory says. He says revenge is a dish best served cold. It's not my version. I'm just repeating. So but for somebody who is in the mode, who is passionate, who wants to get back, that is probably their frame of mind. So
So, thanks to Book Bakers, we are here today having our chitter chatter. How was your journey with the Book Bakers? And you're like one of the top authors of Book Bakers. So, tell us something about you and the Book Bakers.
absolutely. My favorite topic, by the way. Thank you, Suhail Mathur of the Book Bakers. So let me start with a couple of anecdotes. And the first one, of course, is it was about 3 years back. My debut novel had been published 7 years back. So it was 3 years after that when and since I live in the US, I am not always fully aware of the dynamics in India. In
Correct.
2012, when I was trying to get my first book published, there weren't a whole lot of agents. That's what I was told then. But for the second book, when I went back in 2017 or 18, I talked to three, four stalwarts in the field in Bangalore, and everybody said the same thing: Giants, you need to find an agent. And everybody gave me two, three names. There was one name that was common to all, that was bookmakers, that was Suhail Mathur. So I sent off these 5 emails. It was the morning that just before I had to leave to get back to the US. And a few hours later, this dude calls and, hey, bro, I would like to take this forward. Never mind, I can wait till you reach Seattle and then we can have this conversation. And that's it. I did not even follow up with the other agents after that. I've stuck to Suhail. And two things I want to say. One about him. What I found interacting with Suhail, though he is decades younger than me, one, he is very strategic. But on the other side, he's also tactical and action oriented. And
Yes.
that is a dynamite, not even dynamic, it's a dynamite combination to have. When somebody can be, so strategic and, planning and this will work. And then he's also going right there and telling me, bro, this is what you need to do. You do that and this will happen. Can you get back to me in the next 2 days? That's a great combination.
So, see, obviously, when you write your debut novel, when the novel is out, there's a different feel, like finally you've penned down, it's out there. What was the feeling when Family Secrets was out there in the market, when you received your first few copies?
For me, I mean, every book it energizes me the exact same way all over again. At the end of it, it's my creation, and for my first book, I had one of Bangalore's top actors, Mr. Anand, release my book, and the first thing he said is, this book is so passionately written. Jayant has so lovingly written it. And so I think that is the feeling I always get. So I'm sure even if my next book releases, I'll feel the same excitement all over again.
So, Mr. Swamy, everyone has a story, but not everyone has the discipline to write the story. And you've been disciplined enough in spite of your busy schedule that's been going on. So, how was it writing your first novel, and how did you get into the whole idea that, okay, I want to put my story out there?
Good question. And I would still say better late than never. I could have done it much earlier. I did not. And I think it started somewhere even when I used to read, in the late 70s or early 80s. When I recollect it, I did not read the book just for the experience. I would be noticing stuff like, I didn't know they were called cliffhangers then, but I was like, I allowed novels with multiple characters, with a lot of threads happening, intersecting at different places, and how when they stop at one chapter end with something interesting, and then it switches to the next character and you have to wait for 3 chapters to find out what happens. These kind of things would totally thrill me. So I did have a few things I had written, very random, and whatever life takes over. So I did not do much with it. And the inspiration, I would still give it to Mr. Vikram Seth, who's Suitable Boy. I read believe it or not, on the journey when I was immigrating to the US in the late 90s is when I read his book. And what struck me is, okay, here is an Indian gentleman who has really made it big in the international arena. If he can do it, why can't I try at least? What's stopping me? And then, and I'm also the kind of person, once I make up my mind, I kind of find out everything I can do. I pursue, leave no stone unturned and go after it. So that's kind of what I did. So it kind of set off the whole series of events. But believe me, it took a few years. Writing is the easy part. And those days, late 2000s, early teens, I guess. It took me a couple of years even to get my first book published. It was with me for 2, 3 years after I'd completed it. So that's how it started. And then once you're into it, right, you just don't stop, because it was like writing was always part of me. That's the fabric I'm made of. So why did I cut it short? Why didn't I do it? And now it's like, that's my default activity. If I'm not doing anything else, it means I'm writing something. But the only thing I had to scale back is reading. I have to read a little less than I once used to, because that's the only way I can make time to write. And that was where the discipline came in, or rather finding my own balance, finding my equilibrium, I would put it as.
So, we talk about disciplining when it comes to reading, writing, all of it, that, it's a discipline more than anything else. What are the books that you enjoyed reading while you used to read, like, where you didn't have to scale it down? So, what were your favorite authors there?
But that's a great question, and I don't have a simple answer. It kind of changed with the decades, and my taste changed. Obviously, I was growing up. And in the 70s, I think I used to enjoy Arthur Haley. I read all the entire Sherlock Holmes series. I read P.G. Wodehouse. Then I read an English author called A.J. Cronin. He's kind of forgotten now. And then I also read Eric Segal. He's the guy who wrote Love Story, but my favorite is a book called Class, which was also the inspiration for my first novel. So it kind of, from there I graduated. And in the last 2 decades, I've been reading up a lot of Indian authors. Rohington Mystery is my favorite after Vikram Seth. Then I also read Jhumpal Lahiri, and then Chitter, Banerjee, Divakarni, Amitava Ghosh. Pretty much I try to keep myself up with the times. Let me put it that way. And of course, White Tiger, I know the movie has released today. And sometime later in the weekend, probably I'll catch the movie. And I also watched Suitable Boy. I watched the series on BBC. Yeah. So that was also the high point of the last month. And one thing I found in common with Miss Meera, actually, to her first movie, Soon Wedding, inspired by faith. Are we losing it again? Yeah. Yes. Yeah. It's freezing. I don't know. I'm kind of. So that's one thing I found. That another thing I found, even watching the series, is she really knows the book in and out. She knows everything that happens in the book. She knows the characters very well. And sometimes it kind of goes a little against her, because she assumes. Should I rejoin?
No. We can see you. She assumes, and then we
hear you.
Can you see us and hear us right now?
Yeah. You're cutting in. Sorry, say it again.
We lost you where you said she assumes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think so. She probably assumes that everybody has read the book. I mean, not consciously, but that's probably what I thought, because as a writer, I know, even when I write, it's like, okay, I know it in my head. That's just a feeling I got. I could be wrong, but it was amazing, when I heard her speak and I found those 2 points, because the first book when I wrote, I kind of did what she said, I tried to use a lot of diverse elements, not on the scale of Vikram Seth. His book is 1,200 pages, but I kind of got that germ of an idea from him.
So we have understood from this chitter chatter that you also want to contribute to cinema sometime. If Family Secrets had to be converted into a movie, who do you think would be the best to play the brothers?
Uh, sometimes I think we should just cast one actor and have him play a double role, because the brothers don't necessarily look alike, but they have a similar physique. I don't know. I mean, in today's world, I would we could go on either like a Manoj Bajpayee would be great if it's an OTT platform. So yeah, Manoj Bajpayee would be great. I hadn't thought of it until you asked me this.
So let's just think and tell us the other characters, or tell us some secret that for our viewers, because we are talking about the family secret, your book, some secret that viewers don't know and also won't be a spoiler.
Oh, and not a spoiler for the book, right? Yeah, there are lots of things, but I'll pick on one thing. So it's again, a little bit of a history for this. So you know how even in the early 70s there was a movie called Dog, a very beautifully made movie. I was
Yeah.
10, 11 when I saw the movie, and the movie ends on a note where Rajesh Khanna decides he's going to have both women as his wives. And so I had kind of had this huge discussion with my family. I'm like, isn't it illegal? Isn't bigamy a crime? How can he have two? And then my father, of course, at some point in time, he was not a very talkative man, but when he said something, it carried a lot of weight. He'd come and said, but you know what? It's only the first wife who can get the husband in trouble. Nobody else can. So it is funny that I was reminding that story, because when I was doing research for Family Secrets, what I found, which might explain how directors of those days would give us those endings. So apparently, till 1955, in Indian law was silent about divorce or bigamy. It didn't mean it was right or wrong. The rightness or wrongness, for better words, was decided by the moral fabric of the people. The law just did not think it was necessary to even have anything around these things. So then that kind of, in an indirect way, explained to me why that hangover might have, impacted some of these really beautifully made movies, which even as a 10-year-old, I found a little illogical in one place. So that's about an interesting tidbit. But for me, this discovery, I used it as a major plot point in my book, because it's not the traditional, even though it's about an extramarital alliance, there is no bitterness, there is no negativity emotionally from any of the characters. So that is kind of how it had played out. And I kind of needed a suitable plot point to resolve it. And this gave me that, the law, or rather the absence of a law in those days gave me that plot point.
So, if in one line you have to tell the viewers that why should they pick up the family secret? Like, I have picked mine thanks to book bakers and you. Why should the others pick up?
It's thrilling and it's emotionally appealing. Both.
What is it that, as a writer, differentiates you from being a reader?
That's a tough question. You asked really great questions, Shweta. You really
Thank
keep me on
you.
my toes. Okay, let me put it this way. I think as a reader, there is probably less investment. I could pick up anything if I don't like it, if it does not catch my attention in the first 20, 30 pages or whatever, I decide it's not for me. It doesn't mean the book is good or bad, right? It just means that I may not like it. It's not for me. It's not a good fit for me. That's really what I do. But as a writer, obviously, I don't want too many people to do that. I want everybody to, it's okay if they don't like it. I want them to read it and say, Giant, we don't agree with anything you say, but we had to read it to tell you that, right? That's really what I would want as a writer. But I do have my motto when I write. So that's what I do. I see it as an intersection, right? What I'm good at, what are my values, what I write, That's one side. But it must intersect with being respectful to the readers, writing something that universally, or at least some part of the population would like to read, enjoy reading it, or structuring it in such a way that people would want to read it, and not really hurting or harming anybody's sentiments. So that's kind of the overall motto I follow. I would never write something because somebody asked me if I didn't believe in it. At the same time, I'm totally in love with this concept. I love reading about it. But hey, wait a minute. Is it interesting enough for other people to read it? If the answer is no, I wouldn't write it. Not for them, at least. So, does that kind of
Yeah, we resonate.
answer the question between reading and writing? It's a lot more effort, a lot more discernment, a lot more responsibility, I would say.
So now we're gonna have a quick rapid fire round, and you don't get time to think, and it has to be in like max 3 words to 4 words. The answers.
Okay.
The current book you're reading.
Obama's new memoir. I forget the name.
The book that you enjoyed reading the most in lockdown.
During lockdown, I can't recollect.
Okay, a novel that you enjoyed reading lately.
Two books, actually. Okay. Amish's Dharma and Chitter Divakurni's Sita.
Okay, full mythological you were, huh? While lockdown.
I read a third one. I read my classmate's version of Duryodhana, Vikrant Pandey's Duryodhana. Okay. Those are
Oh
three.
my! You had a full mythological lockdown, like completely from Dharma to Sita to Duryodhan.
Yeah, it's a phase.
Bharat bhi ho gaya.
Hog Sakta.
Okay, a book that is your childhood memory, like your entire childhood. If it has to summarize in one book that you've read, or a memory that okay, my childhood was this author or this book, which one would it be?
I would say Sherlock Holmes.
If you had to cast an Indian Bollywood actor to play Sherlock Holmes, who would it be?
In today's times, who would it be? Akshay Kumar.
Yeah, he fits in every role, I think.
Absolutely. Because the movie has to become a huge hit, right? So, I mean, and that's the whole thing. I don't want the Sherlock Holmes series to be kind of very, limited to a one sect of the audience. Let's make it universal.
A novel that you read and you loved the adaptation and movie too.
I loved the adaptation. That's a tough one. I'm hoping it will be White Tiger from the reviews I've read.
I'm sure the kind of hope and the reviews already in a day, I think that might just be a good adaptation.
It's possible, yeah, because a suitable boy, though Miss Nair has done an excellent job, I kind of felt since they only gave her 6 hours, she needed at least twice the time. And then the first one that comes to my mind or two that come to my mind, that the books were way ahead. And that was the way the books were: Kite Runner and the Da Vinci Code. So books really, I loved the books, but the movies were okay. They did not match up to the book. So I do have examples in the other direction, unfortunately.
In today's time, top three authors that are your favorites.
My top three today, it's still Jeffrey Archer. So he's got several new series coming up. I'm still reading Jeffrey Archer. And Amish Tripathi. I've finished reading his Ramayan. And then the Dharma book. And the third one, I would go with my old favorite, Mitch Albom.
Oh,
Tuesdays.
I love him.
Yeah. Let's
He's my
go
favorite.
non-fiction genre also, right?
Which is your favorite novel of Mitch Albom?
I would still go with Tuesdays with Maury. I've read the other ones, I think, the 5 people you meet in heaven, and there's one about if my parent came back to me for one day or something like that.
You should read his Timekeeper. I'm sure you love it.
Which one? What is this again?
The Timekeeper.
Okay, I'll take a look. I might have read it. I might have be forgetting the name. I'll take a look after this.
An advice Mr. Swamy wants to give Mr. Swamy as
Oh,
a writer.
Mr. Swamy to Mr. Swamy. It's like the movie that was Karthik calling
Sorry,
Karthik.
Karthik.
He feels schizophrenic. Uh, as a writer, I would tell myself, well, I would tell this again. I've told this, I've cut down on it, but I would tell myself again. At some point in time, stop improvising, cry halt, don't edit it anymore.
That's quite strange, because usually when an artist or a writer writes, it's very difficult to edit, because you like everything that you do. So that's quite a strange thing.
Oh, I'm the other way. So I write it. So it's like I have creative phases and I have phases when the creativity is not flowing, right? So the discipline is when the creativity is not flowing, that I reorganize what I've written. And sometimes I reorganize and restructure it so much. And I do a few iterations and then I'm like, oh my goodness, now this almost looks like my first version. Why did I go through this whole rigmarole? So I did a lot of that on my first book. I've toned it down on the second, but I had to remind myself, all the time, don't do it. It's not worth the trouble. There's an optimum. After that, it's not going to better the quality of what you write, Mr. Swamy. So don't overdo it.
What is the mantra of Mr. Swamy to lead his life?
No regrets.
If he had to write a biography, what would he title it?
No regrets.
No regrets by Mr. Swamy.
Yeah, that would be my epitaph. And I don't think I want to write a biography. I will never write it. But suppose a miracle had to create a biography for me from thin air, I would say, okay, then you have no choice but to use this title, No Regrets.
You have no choice, but it is no regrets.
Yes.
So thank you, Mr. Swamy, for giving your time for this chitter chatter. Hope you enjoyed our chitter chatter. And all the viewers here, please go get your copy of Family Secrets. It's available.
Yes, please. And thank you very much, Shweta. I enjoyed talking with you and look forward to reading your review for my book.
Very soon. It's on the way.
Honored and humbled.
Again.
And thank you, everyone. Thank you, all my viewers, for the